What's good, YouTube? And welcome to the house. We have so much to get to on today's Market Watch. It's like 3 pressed into 1, so I'm going to try to keep a timely pace. We have Chris Lofton taking down the Columbia YCS with Branded Despia. He said he would do it the moment it was at full power, and he did. I haven't seen someone shoot their shot in the community in a long time. I love his profile, and I would check that out, how he actually depicts his choices and why he went for things. It's great to see a champ have that presence. Then you have Splight getting the tier 0 label put on it on Reddit. It certainly is taking over in the OCG. And also to note, people are really hyping up the Dino mommies. I was wrong on this one, so let's jump right into that. I really own when I'm wrong, and when you have waifus turn into a splashable engine, buyouts find a way. The Starlight rare is all the way up to 175, 180. I already see stories of canceled orders or Crystal Commerce causing people to miss out on their buys, and sorry, we don't actually have that in stock from certain stores. And boy, people are actually stampeding and spending 180 after the hype, up to 160 before during the buyout. And then the regular version is up towards $30 right now, and people are spending that today too. I do think it could calm down a little, but look at how many actual sales have happened, and the hype is because you have waifus and a splashable engine. And what deck is, of course, doing well with that in the OCG? It is Branded Despia, which can fit in compact engines, and in the main deck, you play 3 of her, and you play 3 of the newer trap card, along with some of the fusions in the extra deck. If you ain't fusing, you losing. And this guy is a beast. He reads, your opponent cannot activate the effects of monsters they control with attack more than or equal to your life points. And of course, with this deck, you're able to half. So you're living on the razor's edge. You're also living dangerously against super polymerization, in my opinion, but be aware that this will be a deck come Dimension Force that people are likely going to be having their eyes on. Also, with the Dino mommies, I would think about having the fusion pieces of this sooner than later. It is an ultra rare out of Battle of Chaos, so unlikely to have a reprint for a very long time. And while it's a one of, right now it's under $2, and also a waifu piece that is in this extra deck right here. Then you also have 2 copies, I believe, of Stealth, and this card is a super rare, so pretty accessible, but right now it's quarters. No excuse if you're actually thinking about this engine and looking at the hype over here to get the non-waifu piece of it also. Totally awesome. Speaking of Splight, I warned you guys on this one while it was still like $18, $20, has really jumped up there in price for both the Megaton version and the Ina version. Let me make sure I've refreshed my tabs. Yeah, it is just crazy out here. 4969, not so nice. And the gold rare is really up there. I warned you on that as well, and it is 50. Now, what is also going on with Splight level rank 2, Deep Sea Diva turbo packs are completely bought out. It does have a replacement super from the OTS pack that is also going. The Duelist Saga unique rarity one is going, and then you're left with commons and a gold letter rare and a rare, I believe, for the other copies. Yeah, the original rare from Raging Battle and the maximum gold rare, and then a structure deck common. So there's 3 holos and then 3 still budget versions that you can be accessing right now, but be aware that this is up in price, so you might want to either capitalize on that hype or think about, well, when Splight almost gets here, maybe that's time to sell. It's hard to time it with the market sometimes, and while I'm not a financial advisor channel, I don't know your bankroll, what's going down. We do see that graph a lot where hype, and then it sinks. Sometimes it never recovers, and sometimes it spikes up way past what it was before when there's this level of hype. Also, Atlantean heavy infantry super rares have been bought out along with Diva, people weighing their options, what they're going to do, and even Cat Shark. This card has 1 printing. It is a little cutie, but man, it is not worth $20 or even $10 in my book. But it hasn't had a reprint in ages. People spent even up to $10, and one person buying 3 at 20 a piece when it was just $2 yesterday. So tons of OCG hype, kind of overshadowing that YCS that went down. And another point I'd like to make with all this hype on the horizon is you have Splight and Power of the Elements, but also Dimension Force pre-sales are already off of Gamer's Choice as well as Big 3 deals. You still have Power of the Elements around $7.30 free, 725, code What's Good 5 for 5% off and to support the channel directly. And I've got to say, depending on the rarity spread and Starlights, Power of the Elements is probably a set you want to have pre-ordered, even if you're just thinking about reselling the set, but it does run into the Megatons later, kind of like Burst of Destiny had that problem of pitting itself against reprints and money being spent around. So there's multiple factors to consider, but looking around, Dimension Force is only left on tier 0 right now over here. 825, that's Euro print, code What's Good 5 for 5% off and to support the channel directly will work there, but you don't have that cheaper price per case. Now this is free international shipping, but Dimension Force disappearing this early is a little eyebrow raising, and I would be thinking about Power of the Elements with how much money is being spent around Splight right now, and I don't think Konami is going to miss with that rarity spread, but we will wait and see. Do consider your pre-orders. I know right now there's Ghost, there's Megaton hype. Megatons are going crazy. There were deals, and now they're up in price depending where you're shopping. They're still cheaper on Big 3, but there's so many different directions pulling wallets, but Power of the Elements is one of the best core sets in a very long time, and Dimension Force also pretty dang solid, and it has been disappearing. Crossout Designator is up, continuing another deck list, another first place that was playing Crossout, and I've heard one of the best feelings is actually hitting a Dimensional Prison with this card when you are a Despia player, and it is $40 solid now, continuing the trek up. I told you guys when it was 26 to even 30, probably still want to have your eye on this card, and now it is 40. Super Polymerization was also in the winning list. He ended up playing 2, I believe, and tons of these have been bought out, even all the way down to Dual Devastator, and now the commons are $7+ despite all of these printings. It's a card you might want to consider, especially like we talked about. You have the Dino Mommy archetype, and it trying to blockade with Floodgate-like monsters. Well, this archetype, yeah, Despia, it's going to be pretty much in everyone's hands, from Aluber having a reprint that will make it more accessible and Structured X, and you don't have to like play the most expensive engines, but I still think it's probably a pretty good idea, and you have different ways to play this deck all over, so it fits in with a lot of people's play styles. So do be aware, Super Polymerization, it's the card that I've heard the pros complaining about the most when it's activated on them, and I do think it is insanely solid in the format. Dimensional Barrier also was getting mentioned. I believe that Chris said that his summon limits were supposed to be D-barriers on his list, but he realized, whoops, and that summon limit still kind of came in clutch for him. But D-barrier, of course, if you ain't fusing, you losing. This card stops you from fusing and causes a lot of different interactions in this format. Ghost Spell is pretty darn good in the matchup also, and we've already seen those buyouts happening to where now even the lower end Ghost Spells are way up in price. But Ash Blossom also creeping up here. The lowest market prices are now around $30, and quantity is really disappearing on a ton of the Ghost Girls. We talked about how the secret rares all got targeted even on the like worst Ghost Girls recently, but the playable ones, every copy seems to be going way up right now. We have Cyber's Eldritch continuing to make appearances in top cuts. Firewall Guardian has a market price of $1, but do be aware there are vendors with like multiple, like cores right here, there's 10 copies, and you could just buy them all for under $2 and split with friends and stuff. So don't be necessarily caught paying that full dollar for them. Do look around at who has them listed at what, but if you have this in your bulk, it's not really bulk at this point. We have a Shadol Fusion getting bought out, as well as Shadol Winda. The Shadol structure deck kind of seeming a little insane right now, and different versions of Winda. This, again, was kind of going into the weekend. We had Branded Despia hype. This was bought out before the weekend. I forgot to pull this up on last Market Watch, and these are actually quantities recovering on the cards, but be aware they're bought out, and you might have some extra money in this engine should you have it versus what you thought. Also, Alistair getting bought out to a good degree. That's because he only has 3 total printings, while Invocation has a newer gold letter rare printing. Sorry, not gold rare. It's just straight up a maximum gold, premium gold, all the different terminologies, but it is the most recent printing. I still think that's a pretty darn good penny stock, having Invocations, and you see the other versions are way up versus it because people don't want to play gold rares, but I still really like the engine, and it doesn't seem like Konami's intent on hitting it anytime soon, but the ban list conversations always seem to revolve back to this archetype, even when it's not seeing mass play. A lot of people going back to this engine, though, as the more budget option, and of course, with that, it becomes less budget. Weird. Ghosts from the past pre-sales have really heated up over here on TCG, and I want to focus two cards because that's what people seem to have FOMO over, is Dark Magician Girl Ghost and Aluber the Jester of Despia. We do see one sale here at 960, so people aren't stampeding over here, but Tier 0 once again selling out of Dark Magician Girl Ghost rares, and then Aluber is the card people I hear most are securing their pre-sale on, even though it's already down pretty similar to Tier 0s over here. With pre-sales, there are usually 3 to 8 cards I'm looking at versus the entire set that I say, yeah, that's probably it. And then I start playing penny stonks after the set has settled and I see what I think is undervalued. So initially on pre-sales, I'm looking at 3 to 8 cards usually with the set that was Heat Soul, it's Galaxy Soldier, it's Aluber, and what are those going to end up Boral End as well. But these prices falling out so fast are because this is going to get ripped open for a ton of different reasons. The spring reprint set, which used to be called the March reprint set, but delays and pushbacks and, you know, the entire schedule being shifted. This is your dollar per card spring set, and it gets ripped open almost as much as the Megatons. It's the second most open set of the year. So be aware, tons of different people's going for, oh, I'm gonna get these ghosts graded and send them in for slabs and sell everything else to recoup costs, or I'm wanting these singles, I'll sell my ghost. Conflicting different approaches will bring prices down on a lot of this, and versus early pre-sales, like I still think Heat Soul at 13 was pretty darn good. You see somebody bought one at 46, but people aren't stampeding for this card at this price over here either. I think a lot of people that are newer to the game are even learning, wow, TCG player pre-sales, they kind of suck versus the rest of the market. And a lot of people also waiting for Yu-Gi-Oh! Daily to go up, because Tier 0, they had the approach, I think, of overvaluing the Ghost a bit and bottoming out the set, but it's caused a weird dynamic on the entire market of pre-sales. So, do kind of shoot your shot, consider what you're going for. I like Heat Soul the most still. I think a ton of people are going to be on that, but there will be tons of people selling stuff inside, and we'll wait and see how that falls out. Also, Dual Devastator sealed. Somebody brought this up. Yo, from Tier 0 on sales from the past, like, they had it in stock sealed, and you got it shipped to me, and I didn't know, should I be selling the sealed or going for the singles? Well, there's like 30, there's 12, and it could go up further. There's 7, and then there's 4, but then you're fighting for, like, you know, a couple bucks here, a couple bucks there. I feel like piecing it out, putting postage on everything, dealing with multiple customers, if you really want to get a ton of feedback on your account, maybe that's worth it, but I feel like selling it sealed and pushing it out in one go is probably way better, and then not dealing with any quality control issues yourself, because remember, those can happen, but that's a problem with the sealed, not necessarily the seller itself. So when you're selling the product sealed for sealed as sealed, you don't run that risk so much. So keep that in mind with Dual Devastator, that, yeah, there were a lot of quality control issues, if you recall, with the sealed of it. And finally, Toon Kingdom came up in the Discord, and I wanted to run over this one because the secret rare used to be worth so much, $30, very solid, and then the ultra rare is now pushing towards that from Dragons of Legend, and whenever you see that, usually something gives, like this ends up going up or this ends up chilling out, but so many of these copies are starting to push up. I feel like the secret's undervalued, but for a long time I felt like the ulti was undervalued, and it's just kind of each time it's bought out ends up chilling back down, but it is starting to go up here, which leads me to believe the secret, the mid rarity, might be undervalued, but it is stuck under the thumb now of the ultimate rare, which puts it in an odd position. So let me know, Toon fans or people out there, what do you think of Secret Toon Kingdom being where it's at in this like $10, $11 position? It's very interesting, very odd to me, because Dragons of Legend is such an interesting and great set with a very historied place in the game. You know, the of Legend set goes to Battles of Legend, but here we see the ultras pushing towards that price and less available than the secret rare. Kind of weird, champ, to me. Thanks for watching today's Market Watch. Hopefully I kept it at a timely pace. Just so much to go over, and hopefully I got every reasoning out that, you know, answers your questions, but that's what the comment section is down below is for, and you guys are a great community that I've seen so much awesome interaction down there helping people out. Please subscribe subscribe if you haven't already. Use that TCG player link in the description down below, costing you nothing extra to support the channel directly for the cards you'd already be buying if you're going in on any of these crazy OCG current meta buyouts, because so much is happening with the market. It is insane.